Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Hello and welcome. This time on Inside the Majors, it's all about turning left. We're going to take a look back at the Coke 600 events, the longest single driver race we have on the Major Series calendar. Nearly 200 people took part in the 600 miles at Charlotte, and we're going to talk to two of our winners about how the race went, the challenges of such a grueling race, and their experiences and ambitions for the Major Series as a whole. In case you missed the first week of this week's podcast, that one focused on the third round of the Sudspeed MEC. It was a great chat with two amazingly talented GTP drivers, Sean Campbell and Moritz Weinrich. So if you haven't had a listen to that one yet, add that to the playlist after you've finished with us here on this part and enjoy hearing from those guys as well. So I'll grab a quick drink, push a few buttons, get our guests into the chat, and then we'll get into it straight after this. In the chat with me, I have the Coke 600 top split winners from both the Americas and international regions. Firstly, Dallas Pataska is a name anyone that has anything to do with the Major Series will instantly recognise. Second on the all-time list for wins with 18, twice a Major Series champion, and probably the best oval racer in the series in any car. You are sure to find Dallas at the front of any race you tune into. Also with us is Justin Morton. The win in Charlotte was his fifth in his Major Series career, making 2025 the fourth straight year with a win to his name. Justin also has been a runner-up in the series twice, and with a top 5 percentage of over 40% for his Major Series career is certainly a fixture at the sharp end of all of our races as well. So, gentlemen, thank you for your time to have a chat today, and congratulations on the wins.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll start with you, Dallas. Watching from the race control booth, it looked like you really did have that under control for the full 400 laps. Started on the front row, led 322 laps, several times pulled really big gaps to the car that was in second. Tell us if it really was as easy as it looked from the outside.
Well, I definitely don't think so. The real strength I had was after about lap 20 to 25. Before that, honestly, I think it was probably like 4 to 5 people who probably had a real shot at it up until that point. But yeah, just the experience I have and the time I have at that track, it's going to be a pretty hard chance to beat me there. There was a lot of work that went into it, a lot of testing. I wouldn't say the setup that I had was necessarily anything crazy. Didn't have a lot of extra time in it or anything. I was really just going for a balance that I was comfortable with. I knew we were going to have some kind of long run, just a matter of when it came and for how long. Thankfully, we were able to get a very long green flag running, which was very enjoyable. I think it was about 154 laps or something along those lines. A couple green flag stops. That was a lot of fun. It didn't feel that dominant by any means. I was able to execute every level and it all worked out. Fortunately, able to start up front. Didn't really have to have a lot of competition, to be honest with you, in terms of traffic. So making sure I didn't drop back made it look a lot easier than it really was. But, you know, with all that being said, there was a lot of people out there that had a lot of speed, a lot of competition out there that night. So if I didn't execute on every level, it definitely would not have been such a dominating performance. But if we run that race back, I would not be surprised if I don't win it or a caution comes out and you have something happen where I'm not out there out front. So look dominant, definitely maybe not as dominant as it might have appeared to some people.
Justin, your win was perhaps not quite as straightforward, but it was still a really strong showing. Starting from pole, you led more than half the laps of your race as well, and always somewhere in contention. What was the story of your race in the driver's seat?
Yeah, pretty much starting the race from the pole is always a good way to get your race going. Just kind of sets the mood for the race and how you want to be able to run it. lets you have clean air right from the get-go. I got involved in an incident, had to take the free car. I think it was like around lap 100. It definitely added to the adversity through the race, but thankfully I was able to fix things to get myself back into the right position.
The race was one that was really about tyres and setups. Now, many people will know, but some may not, that Dallas is one of the lead crew chiefs for oval setups with majorsgarage.com. So it's no surprise that your car was working well, Dallas, even though you said you didn't have a huge amount of time in it. By providing your setups to subscribers of Majors Garage, does that mean that there's a lot of drivers around you with similar setups in races that you're in? So maybe it's not the advantage that it might be for you otherwise?
I would hope so. That's the entire goal. My goal with those setups is, the actual setup that I ran was maybe 2 to 3 changes from what I actually had on the site. It's a point of pride for me to put out stuff that I believe in running myself, especially when it comes to a majors event or really just anything. Ideally, I want it to be more problematic for me when we go out there on race. The whole push between not only just the setups, but the coaching, anything else related to Majors Garage is to help people get over that hurdle, that initial learning curve of iRacing. I want everybody to be able to enjoy iRacing as much as I do, at least to some extent, even if it's only 5% of how much I've enjoyed it. I don't want to see someone get turned away because it's too hard, because they didn't quite get it, if you will. So that's a big push of what we try to do over at the garage. So even if it's as simple as putting up a setup or sitting down having a coaching session, how we help people, it can materialize in different ways. In short, yes, I just want to see everybody be able to come in and have a good time, especially with the Gen 4 car that we were in at the time for this event. That's not an easy car to really come to grips with and be comfortable in. So I like to be able to come in with some setup competitively priced in the market and be able to have some fun there and still go out there and be competitive on track and everything else.
Now, as a teammate of mine, I happen to know that you were using a slightly modified setup from Dallas's set, Justin, in your race. A lot of work goes into testing setups in the week leading up to the race and making those fine-tuning tweaks to suit an individual driver's style. How much work did you have to put in to get that setup right for that race?
Well, thankfully, you guys don't have to rely on me to mess with the setups, because that is not my cup of tea. It seems like every time I touch a setup, it goes the wrong way. But thanks to all our teammates, the big thing with majors is the teams, and having a team that's able to all work together and work on a setup and get it to a place where everyone's happy is always super helpful. And Garen, I was tweaking the setup like probably 20 minutes before the race just to try to get that last little bit of feel that I wanted from the car after being kind of told, here's the adjustment you probably should try to make. And that's what I rolled with for the race. And I think it definitely helped compared to the teammate that suggested the change. He was struggling more with the opposite problem that I was having. He was tight on entry, and that was the change that I made. And, going back to the team, it's just super nice to be able to have teammates that help through the week and get the car ready for you.
In a race that's as long as this one, over 4 hours, what are some of the things you need to do to ensure you get to the end without finding drama along the way?
Well, I definitely found the drama at the start of the race, but it's just kind of just trying to keep a cool head. It's a long race. It's 400 laps. You just want to get to the end. You want to be smart about the moves that you make and not putting yourself in bad situations. Another key thing, being American running in the international race, Garen, as you know, I take a nap before the race just to try and get myself into a little better of a headspace going so late into the night.
Yeah, I would say a lot of it just comes down to the basics. For a long race like that, you got to have some food in you, got to have some water, you got to be hydrated. You can't be falling asleep. So it's a lot of that stuff. And I would say when it comes down to the race, what I'm looking for is I want to get into the race and I want to have that first run be as clean as possible, be a complete robot, get in there, get a feel for where the track's at, get a feel for your traffic's at. And then at that point, kind of depending on your speed, whether you're at the front or where you are in the field, it's kind of race management at that point, because you can't win the race. You can't have any points scored if you're not there at the end. So ideally, you're there on the lead lap. I don't think it's anything crazy or anything that's really different as opposed to going into a regular race. It's just you have to manage it for a lot longer. You can't go out there and burn up all your energy on the first run getting through the field. You have to conserve, kind of pick your battles a little bit, and then come down to your last 50 to 80 laps or so, coming down to that money stop, your final stop of the race, that's when the going really picks up. That's what you're saving all your energy for. You're saving your tires. You're saving your best move for that portion of the race. So up until then, you're just learning. And then hopefully you're there at the end to actually do something with everything you've learned up until that point.
Now, more generally, you've both had great success in the major series for a number of years. What are the keys to finding and maintaining those results when there's so much change race to race, be that cars, tracks, disciplines, even time zones, in your case, Justin? How do you manage a majors season?
Yeah, I mean, it's very unique, first of all. I think we have to point that out before anything else. The major series in itself is I'd almost consider it to be an enigma of a series. It's not something you can find anywhere else. Or maybe you can, but I don't think you can find it to this caliber. Mike and all the admin guys, everyone involved in running and putting on the show do just a fantastic job. So from a driver's perspective, I try to focus on having the same approach regardless of what the combo is. I try to kind of abstract my approach to things to where it doesn't matter what the combo is. My approach and my practice and my prep is going to be as close to the same as possible, because that's going to be more repeatable when I take it and go and use at a different track, or, where we're coming from, being Gen 4 at the Charlotte 600, and we're going to Indy, in Indy cars. So that's a pretty big shift. So you can't really look at it as on a per car basis. It's more the approach to how you set up for an event, not necessarily literally set up, but how you approach the event, how you go through your practice, where you start your prep, how you establish your baseline. We didn't really kind of go into it, but I think the most important thing is how you approach these events generally, not looking at the car or anything else, just your prep and how you put yourself in a position to be ready to race. Those things are going to be huge for a series like this that shifts around the disciplines so often.
Yeah, I agree with Dallas on pretty much all those points. I also want to add on that it feels like there's a lot of mentality to how long the season and how different everything is, which is something that I really love about running in the majors. Is you're going to have something new every single round. Mentally, that can be kind of draining on you. Just, I have to learn this car and I have to learn this car now. And it's definitely a big challenge to be able to do that. And I think from a mentality point, you just need to take it one race at a time. It's not a full season. You got to take it one race. All right, this race now, I think that makes it a lot more enjoyable over the long season. Just, I get to run this car now. Oh, this combination seems like something I've never done before, but seems something really fun to do. That's something that's helped me get through pretty much all the seasons I've done in the majors so far.
I think that was even the tagline a couple of years ago for the major series, was it? Every race is a season. Thinking back a few years, can you remember what brought you to the major series initially?
It probably originally was from the iRacing broadcast on the iRacing channel of the major series. Like, that series seems kind of cool, but I didn't really have like the interest of fully joining. At that point, I was running the Audi series, and I'm pretty sure I got an iRacing message from Mike about, hey, we're running the Audis and the Nissans at Daytona for 2.4. And I was like, that seems kind of cool. And it kind of just filed away in the back of my head. A few years later, became teammates with Riley Thompson. He used to run the majors a long time ago. He kind of pointed me in the direction of running in the majors series. And it's like, this series seems kind of cool. I ran like on and off for my first season. I think I only ran about 6 races. My best finish that year was 3rd at Knoxville. I had a pretty fun battle with Christian. That kind of said it like, okay, this series is something that I want to stick around and run.
I think my first year was 2018, and I got into it because I was working with Schallner at the time because he was still pro. And I was kind of getting into the swing of that. And he was running that as like this kind of casual. And I don't know if you can really say anything is casual with Schallner, but he was running it. And I think it was like Spa GT3 or something. I'm like, all right, this looks kind of cool. And that was kind of the rest from there. I think I've only missed a handful of rounds since. Hopefully don't miss a lot more in the future. But yeah, I remember coming in and it was nice because there was someone to race no matter where you were at. When I came in, I definitely was not where I am now, but I still had people to race. If you're not at the front or wherever you are, there's always somebody to race. And I think that's just an amazing quality of majors and the major series and the community that's been created here. And fostered over the years. So very, very happy that I was able to be exposed to the series. I think I would have found my way to it eventually, just a matter of when. So I'm glad that I was able to get linked up with Christian, work with him, and then be exposed to it through him as well. And then here we are chasing him down. We're trying to, at least.
And following on from that, when did the association with Majors Garage begin for you?
We started that, I believe, our first full month was May of 2020. So we kind of had the pro stuff from 2018 to up until then, kind of like a 2 to 3 year window, working with Christian pretty hardcore on stuff, and a lot of the knowledge, skills, expertise, whatever you want to call it, from those years kind of led into the garage, and then obviously continuing on today. But pretty happy to say that we've been going strong with that for just under 5 years now. Hopefully it's continuing for another 5 years. You know, that was another situation where I got extremely lucky. The position was offered to me. Mike came to me. I didn't even know it was going to happen until I got the message. Fortunately, I was smart enough to say yes to that, and hopefully everyone else has been enjoying the work that we've been doing over there to some extent. You know, we're not perfect, but we're trying to do better and do what we can for the community. The garage has definitely been, you can kind of go the pro route or the coaching route, but the coaching and everything we do through the garage is just a lot more fulfilling than a lot of the other stuff I've done on here. So I love it.
Outside of Majors, what other series or racing do you do on IRA?
I personally don't do a ton. You know, with our esports group that we got on the major side, we're trying to break into some leagues, but we're mainly sticking with officials. I'm not a big racing guy. I don't find as much enjoyment from the racing as I do the testing. That's why I like doing the setup building. I like, you know, sitting there tinkering, tweaking the car, seeing what I can make it do. So I honestly don't do a whole lot of racing. I actually will go over and do a league called Sarah, Sim Auto Racing Association, on the short track side. They kind of got their own little thing there. And that's pretty fun because I got into the iRacing because of short track racing in the first place. So that kind of keeps me tied to my roots. Otherwise, it's just a lot of testing. When we do have a majors round that I really like, I'll put in a lot of testing for that. When we have these 3-week or 4-week periods between rounds, I don't think you need to do a ton of practice for Indy in a sense, unless you're able to get a group together. So I might go and do something down later in the season. Who knows? But no, to answer your point, not a whole lot of racing. I like to tinker.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same as Dallas. I don't really run. I can't remember the last official race I ran. I pretty much only stick with league racing. Monday nights I run in the Integrity Racing League, I believe is the correct name. On Monday nights, run the Xfinity cars for, I think it's half distance Xfinity races. That's about the only consistent racing I do outside of majors, besides jumping into the I5G community races. You know, been on the iRacing not top 10 quite a few times. So those are always really enjoyable, just to be on the other side of sim racing, not taking it seriously and just having some fun.
In terms of the real world, have either of you ever done any, what I like to term, full metal racing?
Not myself. My dad had a car for a while. I've been around a lot of real life cars, at least short track scene stuff, but never driven myself. Maybe in the future, I don't know. I'm not huge on making that conversion. There's always going to be a lot of money tied to that and trouble. So I like the virtual scene. It gives me everything I want without all the hassle of, you know, it's a lot easier to change a spring on an interface on here than to go do it IRL. If I had an opportunity to drive, I can't say I would say no, but no experience at this time.
Yeah, I've recently started doing a rental karting league. That's been pretty fun. My first season, I finished top 3 in the division I was put in. I want to dip my toes into doing some autocross, but that's pretty much about the extent that I want to be doing real racing. Not that I wouldn't turn down doing something bigger, like a champ car race or something like that.
We can all dream. And what motorsport series do you like to watch? And do either of you get a chance to go and attend any of these major events in person?
Local dirt tracks, pretty much. I'll go to, like, going to actually see a race, probably local dirt tracks. You know, IndyCar comes to Gateway. So does, you know, Cup Series now and trucks. That's about the only really major series that comes around. As for watching, like, on TV or on my computer or whatever, I'll watch literally anything you put in front of me except PT racing. That's about the only thing I won't watch. But anything else, just I'll watch it. You know, I don't need a specific driver. that I want to watch and win, I'll just watch some racing. It's kind of how I've always been.
I would say it's kind of hit or miss. I mean, if I want to watch good racing or if I'm going to watch a race I'm really looking forward to, it's probably either going to be an IMSA race of some kind, because I think the sports car scene is some of the best racing that you can find on the market at the moment. I think if you're looking on the oval side, my best bet there is I like watching the ASA short track series, ASA National Tour, with like Majeski, Bubba Pollard, a bunch of these big short track name guys. I think the racing in that series with the super late models is some of the best oval racing North America can offer at this point. I watch a little bit of NASCAR. I mean, I'll have the races on, but I'm not like, same with F1. Like, I'm not super into them. I drive the car enough to where it's like, all right, let's see what these guys are doing. The races are kind of hit or miss when you watch them every year at the same track. So I don't know. Some of the novelty might just be worn off on that for me. But if I'm going to watch some real life racing, whether it be actually in person or just like on TV, yeah, I want either IMSA or like ASA, some kind of super late model racing. Realistically, it doesn't even have to be the ASA tour, but short track stuff is in a pretty good spot at the moment.
Back to majors, what will be the aim for the rest of the year from here? Justin, I know you've had a drop round already, so it doesn't look as good for you as it is in reality in the championship standings at the moment. But is the championship in international still the aim?
Definitely the championship is still the aim. Finishing runner up, I think you said 2 times. I think I've been the top 5 the other season. So Christian not being in the international region is a big motivator after, getting beat down by him in 4 years in a row. It's kind of nice to have new competition at the top. Unfortunately, I brought the current championship leader onto the team, and so I have to battle James for the championship.
And Dallas, Nathan has had a stellar start to the year, winning the other 3 races in America's top splits, and then second behind you in the 600. He's got a bit of a points gap already. Can it be chased down with 8 races to go?
That's a good question. I'm curious to see if he can keep it up. And I don't mean to say that like I don't think he can. It's been an incredible start of the season for him. I mean, it's very hard to compete with that. I do know that as we go into the season, we got a couple rounds that sway heavily to my strengths. We have a couple more oval rounds that are my bread and butter, especially like we have, I think, super late at New Smyrna at one point, I believe is around. I can't think of a better combination for myself. So I think it's going to be challenging. What I will say, though, is regardless of what Nathan and I are doing, Christian is still the one who I'm looking at. Like, I know he's not really there in points at the moment, but no one has really dethroned him. I don't think yet. I think he still has that championship streak going. So until that's official and not in his hands, that's my biggest concern. No disrespect to Nathan. I think he's going to be there all year long, and I think he has the pace to compete with us. But with the track record that Christian has of just somehow, some way, he ends up at the front and the points follow. That's my concern, is making sure that we bury him before we go and have our duel. So just to give Christian his respect there, because he'll figure it out and he'll start clawing his way back and be in the conversation. So just have to take advantage of that now. And then hopefully Nathan has some issues of his own, or I can just go out and beat him ideally, but you never know. It's a long season though. We still got a lot of rounds left. The goal is the title, and I think it's going to be a good fight to watch.
So last question for me. Will we see both of you at the Majors 24 this year? It's sure coming up fast. It's now only 8 or 9 weeks away. So yeah, will we see you both on the grid at Le Mans?
I would say I intend to be. I just don't know who my teammates are going to be or what class I'm going to be in. So no idea, but I do intend to run. It's a great event each year. Mike and everyone involved do a great job every time. So one way or another, we're going to run it.
I probably most likely not. It's not due to the event itself. It's just I kind of taken a back seat on the really long endurance stuff. It hasn't really enticed me to run in the past few years. I've kind of just stepped away from it. But I know the Majors 24 is one of the biggest events on iRacing that's not actually hosted by iRacing. And it's incredible to see how fast it's grown in such a short amount of time.
Well, if either of you are looking for a seat, I'm sure that we'd be able to find one in my car. So drop me a DM if you'd like to. Look, congratulations again to both of you on the victories. good luck for the remainder of the 2025 season. And again, I really appreciate you taking some time to come and have a chat here on Inside the Majors.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Before we finish up, I'd like to congratulate all our podium finishers for the 3 regions. In International, it was James Walker who followed Justin Home in second to make it a Fusion Gold 1-2, and Ryan Steele rounding out the podium in third. In Americas, as we just talked about, Nathan Dowd continued his amazing start to 2025 with second place, and Tom Abramatis completed the podium in third. Shout-outs to Rob Deloach, who won second split with a pass for the lead in the final 2 laps, and Aidan Campbell for his win in split 3 in Americas. In the European region, there was some late race drama with a caution right in the middle of a series of green flag pit stops, turning the field upside down. Through the ensuing mayhem on all of the restarts that followed, Garen Batten scored a pretty unlikely win after being in the right place at the right time. Wait, that's me. Yay! It was a lucky one for sure, but one I will happily take. Close behind was Trevor Vavrovsky, who takes the championship lead with that second place, and Daniel Thomas in third. So well done to all of you, and make sure that your postal addresses are correct in your Majors profile so that coins can find their way to you in the next couple of months. The next edition of Inside the Majors will be in a couple of weeks after the 4th round of the Sudspeed MEC, coming to you from Algarve. So we'll get a look at what happened in that race and evaluate who's left standing in the fight for the championships. And we'll also preview one of the crown jewel events of the Major Series, the Indy 500, which will only be days away at that point. So hope to catch up with you all again next time for that. And thanks for listening on Inside the Majors.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and congratulations on your own win, Garen.
We don't talk about that.